stars, in the midst of all this British royal family mystery, there's an ongoing attempt to infantilize Prince William and Kate Middleton, the couple that is destined to become the reigning monarch and his queen consort. All these articles talking about how Kate Middleton treats Bill Middleton as her fourth child. And then all of these appearances where Kate Middleton seems to only be allowed to talk and interact with children. These are both adults in their 40s who are about to take the reins of a symbolic monarchy, but really, the firm is a business. You think about all of the assets that they've been able to cobble together, and it wasn't via charm all over the world. You think about the assets that people keep coming to these folks on their knees begging for medals and ribbons and honors and divestiture goodies. And often they're ponying up cash for it. I wonder what an institution that is asset rich could possibly help Russians, people from the Arab world. What could they want to do with their money that an institution that has a major role in the city of London, what could they possibly do? It's too big a question for my tiny brain. But back to what happened in 2024. A lot of us go back and forth on where the truth may be. Some of us think that Bill Middleton maybe put his hands on Prince Harry and injured him. That was certainly what was written in Prince Harry's book. There were many articles floated by tabloids that Bill and Kate Middleton have nasty arguments. We've seen photos over the years of Bill Middleton partying with his boys, right? As recently as June 2023, Coco nightclub, being out clubbing with the guys when a man is over 40 and has a young family at home is a major red flag. Now, yes, they've always had an army of not only nannies like Maria Barallo, who has flown the coop to my eyes, but others all around the clock. I'm sure baby nurses and people who actually do the school run, right? That was a big excuse for not working while there was a lot of vacationing going on. 2020, pandemic, thereafter, a vacation a month, and then only 2 weeks of work a year? Are you kidding me? In your 40s, you're strongest, you're smartest, you're very best, but you won't actually put in those hours at the office. No. There are photos we've seen of the Coco nightclub, but how many more occasions have there been that the press in the UK didn't capture, or just simply, what do they call it? Catch and kill the story? When someone has video or photos that would be embarrassing to the patron of toxic British media, right? William has likely struggled, just like Prince Harry has struggled with coping with certain situations and dynamics. He's certainly made his peace with la usurppedora Camilla. Some folks call Bill Middleton by his other moniker, Bill Parker Bowles, right? He certainly goes along with ish-talking Princess Diana. He certainly goes along with the program that gives Camilla and her children privilege over Kate Middleton and her family, just like at King Charles's coronation. But if there is, what is it? Papa's little helper. A little grape, maybe some water mixed with grain and allowed to sit under the sink for a couple of months, or some other, I don't know, substance that might bring peace and delight. What extent does that habit have to do with Not only William's haggard appearance and swaying, but also Kate's disappearance for most of 2024. It's really hard to tell. DV is certainly a possibility. Reaching an emotional breaking point is another. Having the kids in a separate house, right? Adelaide Cottage, as opposed to Kensington Palace Apartment 1, as opposed to Anmer Hall right next door to Rose Hanbury. But as much as that limits the impact of the parents' conflict or interaction on the kids, it won't keep everyone apart on holidays, especially the photo op holidays. It's already a stressful time for families, but it makes you wonder if during the course of Prince Harry's litigation with the tabloids, maybe Kate Middleton discovered that William sold her out to them too in exchange for covering up unfavorable press about himself. Remember all those stories about the Middleton bankruptcies? What about those stories about Uncle Gary Goldsmith and his unsavory past, both with DV and let's call it skiing and some international businesses that, gave him a lot of cash to move around in a circle. And maybe that circle was the party pieces business that needed propping up during the early years of Kate Middleton pursuing Prince William doggedly, long enough for him to get rejections to his proposals by half a dozen other posh women and finally settling on Kate. You'll do. The truth may be somewhere in the middle. Dealing with a medical crisis does often bring into focus the need to have people in your life that are fountains. And at the same time, you need to eliminate the ones that are drains. That the litigation with the tabloids might have unearthed some truths about William that he may have preferred to keep buried. It's interesting. It doesn't seem improbable. There's been so much vile behavior that's been revealed, especially towards poor Millie Dowler and her family. It would certainly explain why so much hostility and continued attacks against Prince Harry and Princess Meghan Sussex are encouraged, possibly even paid for. It's clear, just from my interactions on this platform, that there are dozens of bot farm employees from the Moon Place. That's how they call themselves, the Moon Place, right? Not Russia, but the Moon Place. And they're actually quite nice, right? They're doing what they're doing for a cute coin. And that's the only way that there are people inspired enough to go to the mat on these very petty issues and concerns with, people making lemon raspberry cake and one skillet pasta and, Prince Harry, whatever his hair loss situation is, he's undoubtedly helping veterans and people in Africa. But from the hate campaign, you never know it. The ridiculous royals get to be with their families 24/7 if they choose. They do a few engagements a month. Maybe it's not a big deal that Bill Middleton has a night out with the boys or the girls or whatever's in the photographs, right? But for a man who is Bill Middleton's age, a night out with the boys, right, who are also married with young kids, could be beer and poker. They're generally cashing in chips before 11 p.m. or maybe getting together to watch a fight on pay-per-view and eat wings. A 40-something-year-old man still hitting the club like it's 1999, with kids or not, is a red flag. If there's liquid courage or other substances involved, or there's parties at Highgrove that turned out to be very dangerous, allegedly, for Thomas Kingston, we need to pay attention. If these are the symptoms we're seeing outside the home, oftentimes the situation inside the home, behind closed doors, is worse. People are people, and a lot of people are messy. Money tends to make the messes bigger, but it also makes the messes easier to clean up or cover up. right? That's why we got two vastly different results of the medical inquests into the death of Thomas Kingston. If you're not happy at home, often you will be in the streets or at the estate where you grew up partying with Prince Harry, and now you've got other friends who are his surrogates, right? Maybe it was Thomas Kingston. Maybe it's Hugh Grosvenor, any of the Van Straubsy, all those, sort of eyes very close together homies that Bill Middleton seems to favor. Many people think Willie is responsible for whatever happened that was very, very bad and hurtful to Kate. A lot of people believe Willie is responsible for whatever happened to Kate in December of 2023. We get all these fake stories that were meant at their core to protect him, not her. That's why we got her blamed for that jigsaw AI Photoshop Mother's Day photo. That's why we got these very suspicious striped Breton top elaborate speeches from Kate Middleton, from whom we never normally get elaborate speeches. If you know what I'm getting at. If you've heard the audio and you've seen more than heavily edited clips of her in conversation with children or folks who are on a different social level who can't really repartee with her, it's a very controlled way that we've heard her voice, and how convenient if you're able to take samples and create something, as we know it is very possible to do. But you might get a disappearing ring, an extra row of teeth, hair that does or doesn't move, and certainly daffodils and backgrounds and trees that don't move at all. But you get the output. And maybe if you're not really used to quality control and producing images on the regular, you let that slip through. If our girl had gone on to glory, it would have been very easy to say it was because of the affliction they claimed it to be. If she survived but was not mentally all there or as strong as she was before, then they could say it was because of that hair extension track that they claimed was some sort of teen lump on her head, right? We've all seen that very, that very geometrically straight, quote, scar in her hairline, but that's very different than the very jagged scar arcing from her temple down into her eye socket, orbital bone. And then when we cross-reference the scar we see now with that swollen face, Audi saloon photo with her mom, right? It seems like whatever damage happened, whatever damage got repaired, allegedly, apparently, maybe, it could all be connected. Willie's problem is that too many people know what happened, and not all of them can get kicked in the head by a horse or unalive themselves in a room that is locked from the outside. Bill Middleton can no longer use the excuse of the health problem that has been claimed because Kate and Kate's side already said that she is now cancer-free and in remission. So that excuse is over. If our girl is not mentally all there and they can't use the lump story anymore because lots of people know about the new scar, they can't really allow our girl to be at functions where she will have to communicate with normal, educated people. Anyone who interacts with the new our girl will know that something is wrong. It's fine to let her mumble to children or old people who can't hear that well anyway. And maybe what we're seeing in Bill Middleton's weight loss and the swaying and the very irate expressions on his face at the soccer match, it wasn't the normal joyful, almost childlike glee watching the soccer match or the rugby or whatever it is, cricket, I'm not sure. But he seemed stressed, he seemed scared, And maybe that's because he knows that sooner or later someone's going to talk. And he won't be protected from criminal charges because why? He's not the reigning monarch. He's still just a vassal in his father's house. And maybe that's what the stress and strain is all about. I have a friend in New York. She was a vice president at a big media company, and she was known to be down with whatever, right? She was known to be down with being the third between two gentlemen and doing what she had to do to social climb, right? Maybe she was a New York version of the Middleborough College mattress, the Middleborough College middle bum, right? But she took all of that heat and, got a vice president title at one of the premium cable channels. She found someone who didn't really know about her antics, and they married her. Unfortunately, after she was married, she got into some kind of collision with a New York City sanitation truck, and her brain was injured, right? She had brain damage, and she looked great after the accident, and her friends in media at, some of the children's channels hooked her up with consultancies and writing deals and all of that and paid her, right? She remained in her marriage as far as I knew. This was years ago, but it took actually meeting with her to realize, oh, okay, we're just playing along. If you read her writing or heard her talk, there were gaps, which is understandable, right? Physical therapy went fine. She was able to walk around and function, maybe not drive. And she had enough friends and connections and husband and family to protect her and humor her. But she wasn't the same vintage clothes wearing, bougie job having glamour girl who was always on the scene and down with whatever to very high powered men whose tastes continue to run to the exotic, right? Our girl could be going through something similar. At the same time, we know that nothing would happen to Bill Middleton if he actually was brought up on criminal charges. Think of all those unalived bodies found all across royal properties for decades. And add in the bodies piled up by the Tories and other wealthy elites across the British Empire. Think about the ghastly outrages of slavery and, stealing people from Africa or different countries and India and bringing them to the Caribbean and the Americas for labor extortion. Zero consequences. Maybe Charles is trapping our boy in that marriage as a way to cut his shine while Charles reigns, right? You tamp down on that marriage, no new girlfriend, whether it's the smexy Russian or the articulate blonde academic, take your pick. But as long as that story doesn't get released, then the heartwarming love story that is Charles and La Usurpadora with her grown children, who were all Parker Bowles, right? It makes Charles look like a cuckold. He's with this woman, married to this woman, put his own wife and the mother of his children aside to prop up this La Usurpadora. Camilla, the stallion, had them people and their progeny at the coronation in the place of Kate Middleton's siblings, Kate Middleton's parents. What's going on? Is that woman that great? Is the brainwash and the mind bend and everything else she put on Charles that deep and amazing? I don't understand it, but it really beggars belief. At the same time, the toxic British media doesn't like Charles and Camilla because they don't garner clicks and views and controversy the way that smexy, intriguing Harry and Meghan do. And maybe that's why we see your girl doing her own burlesque show at the South Korean reception. Only in the German coverage did you see Charles's eyes pop out from his head as your girl emerged from the car with her lady parts on offer and walked up the steps to curtsy to him. There was no good reason for your girl to wear that. Do that with her skirt and really pull focus from the business of the day. Everyone else was wearing gray, brown, black, muted colors. Here she comes looking like Little Red Riding Hood, putting on a show like she's Marilyn Monroe on top of that subway grate. It was outrageous. Very attention getting. It made really great pictures, but I don't know if that's the dignity of the monarch or a married mother of three that folks are really looking for, unless that set of antics was for your girl's own survival, her own living arrangements, servants, access to being able to go on vacation, and wardrobe purse. That wardrobe purse may be an investment in a whole scheme of kickbacks and pay to play and even selling her outfits once they're worn or seen too much. It simply cannot be fun to look at Camilla the Stallion's long smoker's face and long gowns every day, all day. That's certainly how the toxic British media sees it. Imagine if Princess Meghan had hiked up her skirt as many times as your girl has. The Red Riding Hood skirt hike up was not the wind, and your girl can't blame it on the rain either. Blame it on the rain that's falling. Blame it on the stars that should shine at night. But whatever you do, don't put the blame on you. Blame it on the rain. Yeah, yeah. It is only the ruling monarch who can't be prosecuted. And if that's correct, then your boy is not protected until his father abdicates or passes on, and then he can be crowned as king. The people who know the whole story are not going to let that happen. La Usurpadora and her cronies in the press will not let that happen. So we have to remember that La Usurpadora was the first woman scorned by the monarch. She always loved him, but he decided he'd rather listen to mommy than to marry La Usurpadora in the first round. He then went on to marry an innocent and naive young girl just to get an heir and a spare. In a way, La Usurpadora thinks that she should have been their mother. But La Usurpadora now hates those children and in a way resents Charles for what he did to her. Maybe this is all just a long play, dirty game to get back at him, to supplant his heirs, right? One down, one to go. Be real sneaky, get all the information, pss, 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 pss. Whisper in Lord Rothamir's ear, whisper in Jason Nauf's ear, whisper in Lee Thompson's ears, pull all kinds of strings behind the scenes, and then have that page boy haircut and those long schmatas, doing all this and doing all that, but certainly doing more. Is she in her 80s? Than Kate Middleton ever did. A little bit of a different work ethic there, but intentions that seem to be oriented toward getting her revenge. It might not end the monarchy, but it is meant to undermine both princes. In the middle of this whole narrative is the mystery of Thomas Kingston's unaliving. Something very suspicious went down. He was cremated very quickly after his unaliving. They went through the first inquest that said cranial injury in 2 rounds, possibly somewhere else, and then possibly on scene with a long pew-pew placed near the body. Then, a year later, we get the story about psychiatric medications that are known for causing schmoomasmidal ideations. Was that true, or was that an add-on? Was that a a new paragraph in the 5th draft of the story. The fact that Thomas Kingston was partying with your boy at Highgrove the night before puts a very different spin on when and where this all happened and who actually did it and who actually put bruises on your boy's neck in February 2023. Was it Thomas Kingston? It would be so juicy if one insider would break ranks and share what they know. The press is locked down with threats of super injunctions, but somebody somewhere must have resentment that, even if they just post anonymously through a bot farm or a sock account, ooh. You think of all the creepy stuff that Lord Voldemort does. Stalking Harry, rabbit punching him in Harry's own kitchen. All these sneak attacks. Lord Voldemort showing up all manic and hyped up looking for a heavily pregnant Princess Meghan to get himself psyched up to do something outrageous. Maybe something of the sort that happened in December 2023. We saw a bunch of articles about how if a sovereign did crimes, they couldn't be prosecuted for it, right? That was in the middle of summer 2024, and there were 3 or 4 different articles. The toxic British media know what has gone on, and they know what happened in Anne's so-called accident too. But, if Anne tried to pull rank and straighten your boy out, maybe it was about money or access to something. It definitely gives you pause about the stories we hear versus the realities. To this day, you factor in all the AI, CGI, Photoshop images and videos and body doubles to sell a certain narrative during that 9-month period of disappearance, and we still don't have a definitive answer, only a feeling that there's certain people that we should avoid in real life. Don't hang out with them, don't go to their parties, hi and bye, because maybe, just maybe, they have a side that we don't want to see. Let me know your thoughts, stars.